Chapter 2. You Can Run. The third attack craft, currently on the other side of the two remaining freighters, immediately turns away from them and accelerates to what Will assumes is its maximum sublight speed. Hail the freighters. He is looking at the tactical plot on a sub-monitor of his station, watching the remaining pirate flee. The channel opens with a crackle. Thank you so much. We thought you wouldn't make it in time. Are your ships intact? The third freighter that had no longer been showing on the long-range scans is in fact just heavily damaged and adrift, no power readings. There's a large hole in its side, likely where the reactor used to be. The crew is lucky the reactor scrammed rather than exploded, Will thinks. The other two freighters are in slightly better shape. Yes. The Lothal is on backup power, but her crew is alive. We can transfer them and their cargo to our ships. The Tarkin can be repaired on site. Will nods to himself and brings the Ghost around and under the freighters, on a course to pursue the last pirate. Good. We'll be back. We've got one left to engage. Over the speaker, the voice is clearly smiling. Good. Destroy them, those Krebnecks deserve no less. The channel closes. Will smiles. I like that guy. Z, you still have eyes on that ship? Benny, see if you can keep tabs on his comms. I'll try. He picked up a good lead, Zephyr replies from her station. Just don't lose him. They must have a mothership or base somewhere nearby. I don't think that little cutter can go FTL. Max looks up from his station. Confirmed. I was able to scan the other two before I destroyed them. They were not FTL-capable vessels, nor is the remaining ship. Will pushes the sublight throttle all the way forward. Let's go hunting, then. Only a few minutes later, the sensors pick up several asteroids, presumably part of this system's asteroid belt, which Will knows is nearby. He slides the throttle back, letting the small ship leave them behind. Keep an eye on them. Let's wait until they get to their base. Maxim, Z, go get dressed. As both ex-peacekeepers stand up and leave the bridge, heading for the small armory that sits behind the bridge between the port and starboard airlocks, Will brings the Ghost about and accelerates away from the pirates. Benny, engage full stealth systems. Let's let them think we're headed back to protect those freighters. The Ghost is now, for all intents and purposes, invisible. Not cloaked, that technology on the scale of a starship is still next to impossible. But the pirates most definitely can't see them. They're slowing down, Benny reports. He has added Zephyr Station's capabilities to his, so as to monitor the long-range scanners. The main screen zooms in on a particularly lumpy-looking asteroid, roughly a kilometer wide and 2 long. There are a few habitat modules and other pieces of equipment visible on its surface, as well as a large bay door leading down inside the asteroid. The small attack craft has vanished down that rabbit hole. There are also several visible weapons emplacements on the surface to protect the bay doors. It looks like they don't close that bay door all the time, Benny says. So as long as their guns don't pick us up and shred us, we can fly right down their throats. Will shudders. Dude, that's a really weird and off-putting mixed metaphor. He slides the throttle forward a bit, to the max speed that the stealth system can keep them hidden, and brings the Ghost back around on her original heading. What? I'm trying to work in more humanisms. The small being shrugs. That's not... Never mind. Will turns back to face the screen. It takes a lengthy temple rubbing to remove humanisms from his mind, until finally he reduces the Ghost's speed, sliding past the sentry gun emplacements and into the entrance to the launch bay that has been carved into the asteroid. Benny, find me an airlock or something. Will stands up. Gabe, to the bridge. The computer picks up that this was directed at Gabe and routes the request to the engineer. Less than 2 minutes later, Gabe enters. Take the controls, Will says. And dock us where Benny says. I'm going to change. You're in command. Why is he in charge? Benny groans. And Will heads off the bridge to join Zephyr and Maxim. Because he has never accidentally crashed the ship into anything. That was one time, Benny says, almost under his breath. Gabe turns to look at Benny, then takes his seat. In the armory between the port and starboard airlocks, Will sheds his basic flight suit for a more form-fitting armored suit. He looks at himself in the mirror. Maybe more sparring with Max and Z, he thinks, putting a hand on his stomach, or less grum. Overall, not bad for 36, though. He turns once to look himself over, then notices Zephyr watching him. Blushing, he adds armor plates to the hard points on his torso and limbs. Once connected, each piece signals the suit computer that they're active. Then he grabs the long brown coat that he had specially made a few years ago. It hangs just like a trench coat, but can absorb several direct hits from energy weapons and will even stiffen on contact with projectiles. Once done with that, Will grabs two blasters and adds them to hip holsters built into his armor, and then grabs two armored gauntlets. One has a space where his wrist comm integrates into the material. Turning his palm over, two circles on each begin to glow. Over the intercom, Gabe announces, "We are in position. We have attached to a service airlock. It's on our port side. Benny is attempting to hack the computer so that they do not see our connection. The docking tube is extended." Will finishes attaching a few last shield emitters and other pieces of equipment to his armor and trench coat, then activates the helmet that retracts into his armor when not in use. His armor isn't as advanced or as powerful as the Peacekeeper combat armor Zephyr and Maxim wear, even outdated as those suits are, but it's served him well so far, and the lighter, modular design allows him to upgrade and replace pieces as needed. It's the same armor he wore, always under his long brown duster, when he rescued his two friends from the Partherians after they had been set up by the Peacekeepers and captured a long time ago. Breaking and entering. The Ghost's airlock opens, and 50 meters away, Will can make out the faint outline of another airlock. Apparently, this one doesn't get used often. Several of the light strips outlining it are burnt out. The lights in the ship's docking umbilical are dimmed, which is smart thinking on Gabe's part. Will leaves the Ghost and drifts through the tunnel connecting the ship to the airlock, Maxim following behind him and Zephyr bringing up the rear. "Secure comm, channel 9, Will says, and the limited AI in the suits activates the channel and communicates the change with the rest of the team's suits. "Check in, Ghost 1. "Ghost 2, Zephyr says. "Ghost 3, Maxim adds. "Ghost Base," Gabe says from the bridge. Will reaches the airlock. "Ghost Base. We're at the airlock. Open her up." "Ghost 1. Open who up?" Will sighs. "It's an expression. Just open the airlock, please." "Huh? Dumb expression." "Wait one," Benny replies. A moment later, the outer door of the airlock slides open. There's enough room for all three to enter. Maxim, the last to get in, places a small device on the surface of the asteroid. "Booster planted. Relay active." "Confirmed," Benny replies. Zephyr looks at Will. "We seem to be getting better at this." Will nods. "Don't jinx it." The outer door slowly shuts. The airlock takes an agonizing long time to pressurize, at least to Will. Finally, the inner door opens. Will steps immediately to the right and takes a knee, while Zephyr goes left and takes a knee as well. "Clear," they say in unison. Maxim steps out, pulse rifle up, and quickly pans left and right. Then he reaches back and presses a button on the control panel for the airlock. The inner door closes. "Passive scanners can only pick up so much, but looks like you've got about 20 or 30 bad guys throughout the rock," Benny reports over the comms. "I've got control of some of their systems. I'm working on the rest, but for now, they're at least blind to your presence out there." The corridors of the base are all cut right from the rock of the asteroid. Rough walls lined with pipes and conduits, floors worn smooth and shiny from countless boots. Up ahead, just before a large blast door, the corridor forms a T, and the two pirates emerge from the right avenue. They turn and stop, staring blankly at the three armored intruders. Before the dumbstruck pirates can move, let alone sound any type of alarm, Zephyr shoots past Will, arm-mounted blasters opened fully up, ripping both pirates to shreds. Will and Maxim quickly move in to drag the bodies around a corner. "Ghost Base, any alarm sounding?" Will asked. "Negative." Will nods and looks around. "Those two were coming from that direction," he says, pointing down the corridor the two pirates had come from. "Let's go up there. See where they were coming from. Maybe a command center or vault." He heads off down the corridor. 10 minutes later, and nearly half a kilometer later, The boarding team is standing in front of another large blast door, this one locked. Will steps in front of the door. Maxim and Zephyr stay a few meters back, keeping watch down the corridor. Benny, can you crack this lock? The scoffing cough Will hears tells him the answer before the testy Braylac can answer. Of course, put the remote key next to the control panel. Will does. While the device works, he flips through screens on his wristcom. Hey, there are games. Finally, the large blast door opens. Inside is a cavern cut from the asteroid, just like the rest of the facility, yet much rougher. The walls here are more jagged, the ceiling is jagged and uneven. The lights mounted haphazardly. The floor isn't as worn or even as the corridors, but it is covered with crates, many of them overflowing with ingots of various metals. There are jewels, works of art, pieces of expensive-looking technology, and more, lying all over the place. Over the comms, Benny's voice interrupts them. Ghost One? I think they noticed my intrusion. As he speaks, the lights in the chamber and the corridor outside it all dim and change to a deep red. A warning klaxon blares. You think? Will turns to his two teammates, their matte black armor menacing as ever in the red glow. Okay, let's finish this and claim this stuff. He waves his hand around the room. The two former peacekeepers waver, then fade away, their body armor shifting the light around them, rendering them next to invisible. Will turns and leaves the treasure room, where he runs right into three pirates. Mess with the bull. Wait. Will shouts at the three pirates, all currently leveling blaster rifles at them. They pause, looking at each other, and then back at Will. Then each takes a blaster shot to the head, dropping to the ground. Will nods, already heading down the corridor. Thanks, you two. Ghost Base, can you pinpoint their command center? They activated scramblers the moment they realized you were there, Benny replies. But our last passive scan showed that what looks like the command center, based on power consumption, is 5 levels above you. Will, you head up to the command center. We'll clear these levels, Zephyr says. Will only knows where she is because her suit computer is talking to his and relaying her position to his HUD as a faint green outline. He quickly turns and runs down the corridor, following Benny's instructions to the nearest lift. Behind him, he hears Zephyr turn to Maxim. Ready to do this? Then footsteps and they are gone in the opposite direction. As Will turns a corner, he sees the lift. It's guarded by two pirates, rifles leaning on their shoulders. Thinking quickly, he steps around the corner and walks right up to the two guards. What are you two doing here? He says. The two pirates look at each other, then the taller one turns to Will. Who the wern are you? I've never seen you before. His rifle lowers to aim right at Will, and the other guard follows his lead. Will raises both hands. Hey, what are you talking about? I sat with you at lunch, last week? What the wern, dude? We talked about the breakfast club. The taller guard glances at the other one, then back to Will. Will smiles, then glances at the other guard. The taller guard glances back to the shorter. What breakfast club? I don't even eat breakfast. Will drops his hands and fires 2 plasma blasts from the blasters built into each palm of his armor. The glowing plasma emitters steam slightly as they cool down after firing. Will steps over the 2 bodies and pushes the button next to the lift. Eat your heart out, Tony Stark, he says, grinning. As the lift doors open, his comm crackles. I've got a little control, Benny reports. No primary systems, but plenty of subsystems. Will steps into the lift. As the doors close, he tells Benny, kill the lights. On it. The lights in the lift immediately go out, and so does its upward motion. Just the lights, you dummy, Will says from his now motionless lift. Now I'm stuck in here. Dren, sorry. Hold on. Not going anywhere, take your time. A beat later, the lift gets moving again. Thanks, Benny. The doors open onto a large receiving area, a massive blast door standing directly opposite the lift. Between Will and the entrance to the command center are several pirates. You guys, Will pants, and drops his hands to his knees. They're a level below. I barely got on the lift before they overran us. One of the pirates, who actually has a peg leg, came forward suspiciously. You don't look like you ever fought anyone. How many are there? A different pirate shouts from the other side of the large room. Pegleg raises his rifle, aiming at Will. Shut up, Merkel. He could be one of them. I don't recognize him. Will looks around the room. Well, I don't recognize, and he thrusts his fingers at a random pirate. This guy. I'm a female, you crabneck. Oh. All the rifles in the room are up and aimed at Will now. Hey, Will, you need some help or something? Benny asks from the ghost. Lights out, Will says, and dives to one side just as pulse blasts begin tearing the back of the lift apart. What? Benny asks. The lights, asshole! Turn the lights out on this level! They're shooting at me! Will has his back to the side of the lift and is stretching one hand forward, palm out to fire plasma blasts from his palm emitter. Oh, well, you should have told me the plan first then. God damn it, Benny. A shot hits Will's glove, destroying the plasma emitter. At that moment, the lights go out. There's a fair bit of shouting. Will grabs his pistols and scoots across the floor of the lift. His armored helmet engages and switches to light amplification. Where is he? He has to be in the lift still. Move forward. What do you mean you can't turn the lights on? Another pirate yells into his comms. Will leans out and unleashes pulse pistol hell on the three pirates that are now less than a meter from the lift. Before the remaining pirate can act, he rolls to the opposite side of the elevator, then immediately leans out again, just in time to see two more pirates creeping toward the lift. One after the other, he drops them with his pistol, then crawls out of the lift, keeping to the edge of the room. Pegleg and the female pirate are backed up against the door to the command center, with one other remaining pirate. Shit, Will mutters. What's wrong? Benny asks. Shut up. The remaining pirates are looking this way and that, trying to listen. The weapon's fire has stopped. The room is now silent. Will slowly reaches over the body of one of the pirates and grabs a piece of tech off the being's shoulder, then tosses it across the room. Pegleg and girl pirate spin and fire at the source of the sound, stepping towards it and away from the door. Will jumps up and dives for the lone pirate, slamming the butt of one of his pistols into the creature's temple. At least he thinks it's the thing's temple. The last two pirates spin around at the sound of the fight, just in time to take a pulse pistol blast each to the face. Sorry, girl alien, Will says. Mess with the bull, you get the horns. Benny, I'm outside the command center. He turns back to the pirate he hit with his pistol, firing once more. Sorry, dude. Finally, Zephyr and Maxim are having a hard time. What? Are you kidding me? He turns and runs down the corridor, following Benny's instruction to the nearest working lift. The past. 10,000 credits, as promised. Zarek nods to Will as his wristcom beeps, signaling that the transaction is complete. Yeah, thanks, Will says, looking past his sometimes employer. They're in Zarek's customary booth at the same bar where Will first met him on Fury, close to the spaceport. You seem, I don't know, weirder than usual. What's wrong with you? Zarex is idly tapping a few commands into his wristcom. He pauses and looks up at Will, his reptilian face tilting like a Labrador when it's listening to its human. His big eyes blink 3 times. I'm touched. I'm fine, though. Will looks down at his hands and sighs. I guess I'm just lonely. Before Zarex can cut him off, he continues. I mean, as far as I know, I'm the only human out here. Everywhere I go, everywhere I look, I never see another face like mine. Molt and I look a lot like you, Zarex offers. Pink, mostly hairless. Will doesn't even acknowledge the comment. I guess it's starting to weigh on me. I don't really have anyone out here. I'm alone on the ship. I'll buy the ship from you. Zarex is looking directly at Will now. Again, Will ignores him. I drink alone between projects for you. I haven't had sex in, he starts ticking off on his fingers. 2.5 years, oh God. Can you even imagine that, over 2 years no sex? Finally, he looks up at Zarex. My people mate once a year, in a collective orgy that fills a space the size of a stadium. Our women carry their young for 3 years, so they skip every 2 ruts if they're with brood. The competition is fierce. Many go unfulfilled. Will blinks a few times. Yeah. My people mate considerably more frequently, though usually much more privately. A stadium? Really? He shakes his head and mumbles again. 3 years. Zarex stands up. Yes, well, this has been... It's been something. I hope to never do it again. I'll be in touch when I have work for you. Awkwardly, he puts a clawed hand on Will's shoulder before walking away into the crowd. Great, thanks. I'll wait for your call. Nothing else to do. Will looks around and spots a server, flagging him. He thinks it's him, down. What's stronger than Grum?